And life goes on. When you're that young, you don't understand what the word never means. My mother's never coming home. I didn't understand what that meant. When I was in the first grade, my grandfather had a stroke while we were eating dinner. And I share that with you because it set into motion a series of events that would later again change my life. Because from that event, we moved from Oklahoma to Poplar Bluff, Missouri, and that's where I grew up, in the Ozarks, in the Boot Hills, Missouri. And I felt like I had a normal childhood, to tell you the truth. I rode my dirt bike to school every day. I'd build jumps, I'd swim in the spring-fed rivers. We'd play in the woods all day, you know, building forts. And I played soccer for 15 years. Started wrestling when I was in 6th grade. And going into high school, I was pretty well-liked guy. You know, I could bounce around in any social circle. Sophomore year, I was a varsity wrestler, and I was dating a senior cheerleader, so I was the man, you know what I mean? Yes. Valerie Guthrie, whew, she was my first love. And she would drop me off from school every day because I wasn't old enough to drive yet. You know, today was just like any other day. I gave her a kiss goodbye, and I walked in the house, and the house was quiet, which was odd, because usually my grandfather was right there in his lazy boy watching a rerun of The Outlaw Josie Wells or a John Wayne rerun. You know, that's who I used to watch that stuff with. But the house was dead quiet. And while I thought this was odd, my second thought was, I'm hungry because I just got out of wrestling practice, right? So I turn to go into the kitchen. And as I turn, I can see through through the living room, through the dining room and into the kitchen, and I see my grandfather lying dead on the floor from a massive heart attack that he'd had that morning. And I know it was the morning time because he still had his dish rag in his hand that he used to wipe down the counters with. And I want you guys to understand, this didn't scare me. It was my grandfather. And to tell you the truth, ever since that stroke that he had, we grew up in and out of hospitals. So in a way, I was conditioned to know that this was going to happen sooner or later. It just so happened today was the day, and I was the first one home. So I was old enough to know that there was nothing I was going to be able to do by the way he looked. I called 911, and I sat there with my grandfather. And it's not that changed my life that day. What changed my life was when my grandmother got home. And I went up to hug her and console her. She started beating on my chest, and she said to me, Shannon, you finally killed him. You were too much stress on his heart.
Oh, my God.
It wasn't that he had triple bypass surgery or continued to smoke or didn't have a good nutrition, no exercise. It was me and my personality that killed him. What really sucked is the rest of my family followed suit with my grandma. Now, if you said that to me today, I'd probably punch you in the throat and ask you to repeat yourself. You know? But as a 15-year-old boy, I was devastated.
Yeah.
It crushed me. I would like to be able to stand up here and tell you guys that I handled it well, but I didn't. I went into a really dark place, really depressed. A lot of high-risk behavior and all the fun stuff that comes along with that, you know what I mean? Got in trouble a bunch, made a lot of bad decisions, and really it wasn't that I was a bad person. I just couldn't stand how I felt inside so much that I'd slowly kill myself every day with the poor decisions I made, because the truth is I didn't have the balls to put a gun in my mouth and blow my head off. And that went on for about 6 years. And it's a period of my time, period in my life where I almost didn't make it out of that. And it took another severe event in my life to actually snap me out of it. And about 6 years later, my grandmother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Has anybody seen anybody dying of cancer?
Yes.
It's probably affected all of us in here in some way or another. In the end, it's really bad, you know. And it was no different for my grandmother. It was all in her body, you know, in her lungs, in her bowels, in her stomach, on her spine. It was everywhere. And they gave her about 3 months to live. And about 3 months later, she checked out. During those last 2 weeks, while she was under the influence of a lot of morphine, my family again stepped in, took power of attorney, and wrote me out of the will and stole my part of the estate.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Needless to say, by this time in my life, I'd had enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was already in a really dark place, and I was having pretty dark thoughts, but what really scared me is I really started to feel like I could act on these thoughts and do something really bad. And I realized I'd come to a crossroads in my life. And I realized that if I continued down this path, I was either going to end up dead or in prison. It was going to be one of the two. And I knew that wasn't the life that I was born to live. I could feel it inside of me. I could hear God telling me, you're not living the life that you were born to live. So the next day I went into the Navy's recruiter's office. And at the time they had a program called the SEAL Challenge. And that's where if you make it through BUDS, you're guaranteed a shot at BUDS. And if you make it through, you go to the SEAL teams. You don't have to go to the fleet and then put in a package. And for me, I wanted to go serve on an elite level. And the truth is, I needed a little stronger of a rehab program than 5 weeks in passages out in Malibu, you know what I mean? That wasn't gonna work on me. I needed something a little bit harder. And I'd always heard Navy SEAL training was the hardest in the world. So in my mind, I thought, if I could do that, they'll be able to fix whatever's wrong inside of me. I really believed that. So that's what I did. A week after my grandmother's death, I went to boot camp at Great Lakes. And then I went to Intel school at Nimitzi at Dam Neck, Virginia. And then I classed up BUDS class 236 in the beginning of 2000. And you guys have probably all heard of BUDS. It's, can we get that up on the screen? There's an evolution in first phase of BUDS called Hell Week. And this is a good description of what it is. And this is one of those trials by fires, You got to make it through Hell Week. And this is 3 weeks into the training. First night of Hell Week is called Breakout. And that's what's being depicted right here in this picture. And this is what happened to me in my breakout period. They told us, they said, guys, we want you to go get your sleeping bags and ground pads, and we want you to all come up here, and we're going to go in the classroom. And there's a classroom right back here. And we're going to watch Gladiator and get you pumped up for Hell Week, right? And we're going to have some pizza. But we want you all in one spot. That way we don't have to come looking for you when we're ready to get started. Now, by this time in my life, I'd been running around with less than desirable people. So I could tell when people were lying to me by their body language, you know what I mean? And I knew something was up, so my head was on a swivel. And I was right. About halfway through my second piece of pizza, a flash crash comes in the back door. Now, a flash crash is a percussion grenade that we'd use when we're coming in to say hi to people, to disorient them a little bit and give us a little bit of that split-second time. And one of those comes in, goes off, boom, and they're really loud in a closed environment like that. And then one instructor comes in the front door, one instructor comes in the back, and they're both going with their M60s with blank rounds, but it's still loud in that enclosed area. And they create total pandemonium for about 45 minutes. Every one of them is yelling at you to do something different. And then the other one's yelling at you, why are you not doing what I'm telling you to do, right? They basically beat you for about 45 minutes. And then they line you up just like this right here, and they say, gentlemen, that's only the first 45 minutes of Hell Week. We have 5.5 days left of this. We had so many people quit right there because they let their mind just run off in fear of, how am I going to make it 5.5 days of this? Tell you the truth, it scared me too. But this is where I learned the power of living in the moment. Because if I thought about the 5.5 days, the fear of the unknown, it was overwhelming. But if I thought to myself, I'm going to just do my absolute best right now and go as hard as I can, in this moment, I could do that. I had to stay in the moment, though. We ran 73 miles in the first 24 hours of Hell Week. It was a little tough, just to say the least. I had stress fractures in both of my legs that didn't heal until I got to SEAL Team 4. But 5.5 days later, you're hallucinating and you're completely out of it, right? There is victory if you don't quit, and that's us right there. Yeah? That's me right there in the center. If you're ever looking for me, I'm always the smallest little guy. I'm the midget of the group. Well, we started with 177, and we had 49 guys come out of it. So at week 3 of training, we chopped the class in half by 2/3. Now, in my mind, I thought, you know what? If I can do this Hell Week, I got this buds thing lit. No big deal, right? Wrong. I was so wrong. That wasn't even the hardest part of buds for me. In second phase, there's an evolution called pool comp. And that's what's being depicted right here in this picture. I about failed out of buds in pool comp. Now, what this evolution is designed to do is it's designed to, simulate rough currents and sea underwater, under the sea. So if you ever get banged around down there, then you don't lose your cool and drown. So it's kind of important, you know what I mean? But I failed it the first 2 times. And in buds, you get 3 shots at an evolution. And if you fail it the 3rd time, they either kick you out or they roll you into the class coming through if they think you're going to be a good operator and you're worth investing money in. So I failed it the first 2 times. And after taking a pretty good beat, they told me to go sit along the wall of shame and think about whether or not I really wanted to be a part of the program. Now, in my mind, the Navy SEALs was going to be my new family. So I really wanted to be a part of it. I didn't have anything to go home to in my mind. So 3rd time's a charm, right? This is what happened when I passed. You jump in water there, and you're in 8 feet of water, and that's a SEAL instructor. And these guys are SEAL instructors here. And you jump in the water, and you crawl around on your hands and knees, back and forth. And these guys are circling above you like sharks. And they come down and hit you and do different things to you. And as they come down, as they go through the process, the things they do to you become more and more difficult. So on the last thing they did to me, they waited till they saw about half of my bubbles come out. So I've got a half breath of air. And they come down, they hit me, and they rip my mask off. They pull my regulator out of my mouth. Now you're wearing one of those old Jock Stone double hose regulators. You know what I'm talking about? Those are awesome, right? And you got the twin 80 tanks. So they take my regulator out of my mouth and they twist it in front of me and they put it around behind my back and then they twist it again. They put it back in front of me, they twist it again, and then they stand on my back on my twin 80s and they pull it all the way around back behind me and stick it under my tanks like this. So then I'm like this, and it's choking me, and I'm on half breath of air. And then they turn me upside down and they bounce me off my face on the bottom of the pool 3 times. And then for good measure, they punch me in the diaphragm to try to get me to release the rest of my air. And now it's game time, right? You got to really relax in this moment, but something about not being able to breathe really freaks you out. But you got to stay calm and fix everything in the proper order, because if you don't fix it in the right order, then you fail the evolution. Because there's only so long you can hold your breath. I don't care who you are. So it's a pass-fail evolution. But it's time to go to work. So you really got to slow yourself down and become centered. And that's what I did. And I go to work and I get start taking my stuff off, I get my weight belt off and I get the bottom strap. When I pop the top strap, my twin 80s start to float up over me. Right? Has anybody blacked out underwater before? No. Yeah? So you can see the blackness coming before you clap out all the way. And I'm about right here with it. So I know it's coming. And I get that down and I put the regulator in my mouth and I get the air on. Now here's the secret if you ever go to Bud's and you want to pass pool comp, okay? When your mind is telling you to, screaming at you, breathe, don't do that. Turn your head sideways so all the water goes down into the hose and then breathe. Because then the water doesn't go into your lungs and choke you. That's what happened the first 2 times when I failed. But it was in that moment, that was the best breath of air I'd ever had in my life. But I knew I had it beat. All I had to do was put everything back on in the proper order. I knew I could do that because there wasn't a time limit, right? Ask for the thumbs up, they give you the okay, and then they swim down and get you. And it's a different conversation coming out of the water that time, you know? I grew so much in this short period of my life. It was only like 5 minutes. But it set my mind down a course. It was really the genesis of a warrior's mind. Because it set my mind down a course that anything was possible. As long as I stayed present in the moment and never quit on myself, I could overcome the most stressful scenarios in my life. The truth is, I started to believe in myself again. That's what it was more than anything. Everybody remember where they were September 11th?
Yes.
Yeah, how could you not, right? I was in 3rd phase of BUDS. We were out in La Posta doing desert warfare training, and it was morning time, so we were out PTing on the grinder, and the first plane hit, and the instructors came out and they said, somebody flew a plane into the Twin Towers, right? And I laughed because they would always tell us crazy stuff, always messing with us, right? So we thought they were lying again, and they beat us pretty good for it. And then we came into the conference room and we watched the 2nd plane hit.
Yeah.
And they said, gentlemen, this is obviously an intentional attack on the United States. And we're going to be going to war. And some of you will not be coming home. And they were right. We had 2 people quit on the spot because everything got too real, too quick. And their reasons were wrong for being there in the first place. You know? Can I get that up there? The rest of us went on though. And that's us, but BUDS class 236. That's me, Angry Midget, right there. Very center guy, there he is. And I lost 3 of my friends just out of my BUDS class alone. My good buddy Brett Shadle, my good buddy Josh Harris. And some of you may have seen Lone Survivor. That's Lieutenant Mike Murphy right up there, back left corner, that have all paid the ultimate price for our freedom. But this is what the finished product looks like. Sea, land, and air. And that's us off the coast of Ecuador, right there, getting ready to go say hi to some people. Why would somebody do all that, though? Why would somebody put themselves through all of that? What is your reason for doing what you do? Have you defined it? Do you know exactly what it is? I have found for me in my life, if my reason isn't bigger than what I'm trying to overcome, then the action that I take will be half-stepped with little or no intention behind it. And how many of us have half-stepped something important and later regretted it? Everybody in here, including myself, is the truth. I know this, if you went out to BUDS with the wrong reasons, or your reasons weren't big enough to keep you going in the middle of the night when you were cold and wet and sandy and had been getting beat for hours and hours and hours and hours, you didn't make the program, period. Growing up, and I still believe this to be true to this day, the SEAL teams are the best in the world. And I'm not saying the other guys aren't good, and really when you get to that level, everybody's awesome. But to me, as a little kid, the myth that surrounded these guys, to me, it was the stuff legends were made of. Never leaving a man behind no matter what. Small teams against overwhelming odds. The most top secret missions. 100% committed to your team and your teammates. This spoke directly to my heart and connected with me on a soul level. Because the amount of trust that you have to have in somebody to do those type of things, I knew in my heart that I had that trust. I knew I had it to give. Therefore, I felt like I was worthy of receiving it. I had just always given my trust away to the wrong people in my life. And those were always hard lessons to learn, because there was always heartache involved in it. But this was my reason for putting myself through all that. And for me, it was a big reason. and it drove me straight through buds. When I got to the teams, my reason evolved. I wanted to be the absolute best that I could be, so if we got the call, my teammates knew no matter what, Shannon would be there to fight. There'd be no question in their mind. Not only that, but I wanted to fight against evil. And I wanted to fight against injustice because I knew what it felt like to have stuff taken from me, you know? And I wanted to be able to fight for those that couldn't fight for themselves. Today, my reason has evolved again, and it's really quite simple. It's time. I want to be able to do what I want, when I want, how I want, with who I want. There came a time in my life where I didn't want to build somebody else's dream anymore. Because time is the one thing I don't know how much of it I have. And who I spend that time with is the most important thing in my life. Relationships are number 2 to that. I really believe relationships are the wealth of this world. Who you get to spend your life with and share your experiences with, wow. It's just such an amazing, special thing. And then number 3 is leaving a legacy, not only for my family, but my community and my country, something that they can look back and honor. What is your reason for doing what you do? Have you ever wanted something so bad in your life that there was just no way that you were going to fail? How many of you have had others set limits on your life? Yeah. How'd that make you feel? Did you listen to them? Right? How did it affect your mind? Because you got to be mindful and selective of those people that you allow to influence that internal dialogue, that self-talk. I firmly believe that you are becoming whatever the dominant thoughts are in your mind right now, whether it's positive or negative. So you got to pay very close attention to what those thoughts are. How many of you have been in the middle of working on something, and before you know it, you're way out in left field, reliving some negative event in your life, and you're completely involved in it? You know, I find myself, I'll even get up and get animated. I'm like, man, if you ever talk to me like that again, boy, I'm going to show them what time it is, you know what I mean? Or maybe it could be a fight that you had with somebody that you care about. Maybe it was last night, maybe it was a week ago. But you're like, man, I should have said this, or why did I do that? And before you know it, you've relived this event with every possible outcome and scenario, while the event itself remains the same. Because we all know that you can't change the past. Well, I have found one thing that you can do. You can ask for forgiveness from those that you've hurt. And just as important, if not more important, you have to forgive yourself. Because if you don't forgive yourself, it leaves that blackness in there, that darkness, and it allows it a place to grow. Yeah. Have you ever really paid attention to what thoughts just come up in your mind when you're sitting there working on something? You know, this used to happen to me all the time too. But the way I overcame this destructive way of thinking was first by recognizing it. And then realizing that I'm going into that. What's triggering me here? And then stopping it right away and replacing it with, what am I trying to accomplish? What is the end goal? And then I throw that goal into the future and I leave it there. It's good to have goals, but it's also destructive to throw that goal out there and then only focus on the goal, because then you forget to live in the now. I always come back to now, because the faster you refocus on the now, the faster the opportunity to win will present itself. And the opportunity is always there. But depending on how you're going into it, your mind going into it, will determine whether you find the opportunity at all, or if you find it, or how fast you find it. That's why it's very important to always come from a place of, I'm going to win no matter what. Because 180 degrees from that overwhelming situation is an equal to, or usually greater than, opportunity. And the truth is, it's not even that I'm that good. I've just messed up now so many times that I kind of know what not to do anymore. And I still make mistakes all the time. The biggest difference now is the amount of time I spend beating myself up when I make those mistakes. It's a very small amount of time. I put it away. I ask for forgiveness. I get back up. I dust myself off, and I get back into the fight. I always focus on that positive action I need to take right now to create whatever I want that end result to be. Because when I do that, everything negative eventually disappears and fades away. Because I allow it no place to grow in my mind. Your thoughts are really the one thing that you have 100% control of in this world. You always have a choice to think a certain way or not, regardless if you're in control of the circumstances. You have a choice to react. You have a choice to think a certain way. If you find yourself going in a negative direction, stop it right away and replace it with, what is the end goal here? I know this in my life. Anytime I ever thought I could do something, or I thought I couldn't do something, I always proved myself right. Every time. First by how I thought about the situation, and then second by the actions that I took once I was in that situation. Are the majority of your thoughts, I am not, I wish I would have, I should have done this or that, or are they I ams? I can. I will overcome no matter what. How is your mind programmed? Are you intentionally programming yourself every day, or are you just taking in everything that the world throws at you? Because it's just as important to intentionally program yourself as it is to intentionally block things in the world. For me, I'm in a constant state of creation. I'm always talking to myself. I'm always thinking what I want into existence. Your thoughts become your words become your actions, and your actions create the world that you live in today. Never let the fear of the mistakes that you've made in the past define you as the person that you are today, because they will try. But mistakes and failing, they're a part of the success process. I'm sure there's some very successful people in this room. If any one of them stood up and told their story, there would be a list of failures and mistakes in that story that led to that success. Those negative thoughts, though, they like to keep you trapped in that game of mental ping pong. Can I get that up there, guys? And what I mean by that, quite simply, is the should I's or shouldn't I's. And this can be something as simple as, do I want to wake up this morning and work out, or do I want to hit the snooze button, right? Work out or snooze button. Or it can be any opportunity in your life where it was a huge opportunity, and you tried, and you fell right on your face, and you failed. And then when that other opportunity rises up, that fear of failing likes to show right up with it and say, hey, Shannon, remember how bad you messed this up last time? I don't know if I'd do that. You try again and fail, everybody's going to know how bad you suck, right? And they might even laugh at you. And that fear of failing keeps you trapped on the sideline, keeps you from even getting in the game. When the truth is, who cares if you fail? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter as long as you get back up and try again and again and again until you succeed. Here's an example. When we were in Buds, we would do this evolution called surf acclimation. Now, surf acclimation is when they'd wake us up first thing in the morning, right out of your warm, snuggly bed, and sleepy still in your eyes, right? Who's been in the Pacific Ocean? It's cold, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what time of the year it is, it's always cold. So they have you lock arms and you walk into waist deep of water, which is usually up to past my belly button because I'm short. And then you lay down in the freezing cold water for 45 minutes getting acclimated to it, right? It sucked. There's no easy way around it. Now in my mind, I was like, well, I'll be numb in 3 minutes, so the other 42 don't matter. Right? And that's how I dealt with it. Instead of going back and forth in my mind of cold water or warm bed, cold water or warm bed, and you could see the guys going back and forth, and they would quit and sacrifice their dream of becoming a United States Navy SEAL for a warm bed, because their reason wasn't big enough to overcome the obstacle of spending 45 minutes in the cold water? What is the warm bed in your life that you keep sacrificing your dreams for? Do you know what it is? Are you lying to yourself about it? See, your mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. And you must ask yourself, what is mine to me? Do I self-sabotage? Or do I have a warrior's mind? Whatever you gotta do to find a reason to win, do it. Come to a conclusion and go with the decision that you've made. And trust yourself. Trust your instincts. Trust your skill set. Go into it knowing that you may fail, and that's part of it, because it doesn't matter if I'm gonna get right back up and go back at it. When you play ping pong, you quit. Or you miss opportunities. Here's a suggestion, and it's just a suggestion. If you decide to play ping pong, win the game, right? Deep down, you know the decision that you need to make, and be passionate about the decisions that you do make. I have found for me in my life personally, the majority of things are born out of passion and fear. Fear, I know exactly where it leads to. It traps me. Nothing good ever comes out of it. But passion is the potential to be everything of my true heart's desire. It is a true source of power. When I'm excited about something, the excitement's contagious. And it only takes one person to set everybody else on fire. Are you going to be that one person in everybody in your life's life that sets them on fire? You have one shot to write this story. I want to encourage you to write it big, live it big, dream big, love big. The person you become on the other side of that is who you know you are already deep down. Have fun with what you do. And if you don't, you may want to ask yourself, what sets my soul on fire? And then go do that. Don't waste time drifting unhappily along for somebody else's expectations of what your life should be. At the end of the day, you answer to you. Become aware that every moment is an opportunity to make a dream come true. And we're sitting in the moment of making a dream come true right now. Will it be a nightmare? Or will it be everything that you've ever wanted? It's a special time seeing what you're made of, knowing in your heart that you do have what it takes, but then proving it to yourself on a day-to-day basis with the actions that you take. And I say be a dreamer and dream big, because anything is possible with a reason, passion, and the conviction to take action. When I follow my passion, all the details work themselves out. Right people come into my life, and the people in your life enjoy your company even more, because passion always breeds passion, and success always follows passion. So does happiness. So does abundance, prosperity, joy. And winning does feel better than losing, doesn't it? And it feels good. And it's okay to win big. In the real world, not everybody gets blue ribbons. Set yourself up for success. Always stack the odds in your favor. And then go for it. 100% committed. I am not quitting no matter what attitude. But remember to have fun doing it. Because what's the point of doing it if it doesn't set your soul on fire? Do you want to wake up at the end of your life and ask yourself, what have I done with my life, and regret it? I know I don't want to. The thought of that scares the crap out of me. Do you have passion in your life? And how are you bringing that passion, not just into your work environment, but how about your family and your community? How about just the little things that make you, you? Are you passionate about those things? I know when I'm passionate about something, it's very easy for me to take action. And when we would take action 100% committed to each other, the mission statement, as a team. No one ever half-stepped once the decision was made to go. When the helo disappears and the night becomes alive again, You're there until the job's done. There's no calling time out. Imagine being that committed to your dreams on a day-to-day basis. And if you're not that committed, what fear is secretly whispering in your ear, telling you that you're not worthy of these things in your life? Because the truth is, you are worthy. The action is the power. Because it can be the best plan in the world. But with no action behind it, it's just a plan, right? Might as well set up on the shelf and collect dust.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I'll take a group of knuckleheads with a half-assed plan that are 100% committed to each other and taking action over the best plan in the world with a bunch of people that are going to half-ass it behind it. And my knuckleheads will whip them every day. You got to be bold when you take action, though. And go for it with everything that you are. And putting anything off that you know you need to do, that's the devil in disguise. I have found for me personally, right now, this moment is the best moment to take action, to change my life. What action can I take right now to change my life? When there's passion driving that action, it compounds and multiplies the effects of the efforts. And let each victory stand alone. Don't live in your past victories. It's great to have a success track record. But let it stay there. Look for the next challenge. Be excited about the next challenge because it's another opportunity to claim victory. And that's what I want to do with my life. I want to claim victory over my life. Become as self-aware, thank you. Become as self-aware as you can be. And stop letting outside influences master you. Become present now. And be the absolute best that you can be for you. I know that sounds selfish, but I'm not talking about in a selfish way. When you're the best that you can be for you, by default, you're the best person that you can be for everybody else in your life. I know this, I sleep well at night. When my head hits my pillow and I can say to myself, I did my absolute best today. You know? Any Journey fans in here? Those wheels in your mind keep on turning.
Woo!
America, right?
Yeah.
I think it's wheels in the sky. But those wheels in your mind that keep turning all night long, that keep you up all night, they're gone. There's no more wheels. What does happen though, you like that, didn't you? A Christmas album coming out this year. What does happen though, is you fall right asleep because you're exhausted from kicking butt all day.
Yeah.
And then when you wake up in the morning, you're wide awake and you're excited and you can't wait to get back and work on the projects of your life. But you got to take that mask off. You got to be honest with yourself and live that life that you were born to live. Take advantage of it. Take risk. Love big. You will be rewarded. Because what is a dream other than a blueprint for everything that you want to create in your life? If you sat down today and wrote your story, would it be a book that you would want to read? Would it be a story that would inspire others to take action? I knew in my life I had to take drastic action to change it. And some would say that going to Bud's was pretty drastic, and I wouldn't argue with that, you know. But I was being driven by fear that my life would stay the same, or I'd end up in prison or dead, and that was just not where I wanted to be. When I got to the SEAL teams, I learned that to make it on an elite level, you must be willing to push yourself further than you ever thought possible, and then still perform and grow at that level, because that's where you win at. And most people will quit on themselves before they even get there. They don't even allow themselves an opportunity to win. I learned how to take deliberate, focused action. Because you can have a lot of energy and take a lot of action and get a lot of nothing done throughout the day. Today I apply this mindset on what are the actions that I need to take that are going to propel me further forward more than anything else in my life. I have 5 things that I do consistently every morning. I pray and meditate. I work out, which is another form of meditation for me. And then I study or I rehearse. And then I create, whether it's a new presentation or I'm in the process of writing a couple things. I like to paint, but I like to create. And then I reset everything for the next day. And then I go into the world. And then I go into my calls and my emails. And, by that time, no, I'm anchored in who I am. The world cannot tell me who I am at that point. I know exactly who I am and what I'm trying to accomplish by the time that I step one foot into the world. What actions are you taking right now to create what you want in your life? What are you doing to make a difference in your business, in your family, in your relationships? What have you been putting off that you know is important? Understand that when you take actions, you're going to run into some problems. There's going to be obstacles. You got to be fluid. You got to be able to roll with the punches. You got to be adaptable. You can't be so locked into your plan that when you run into an obstacle, it stops you dead in your tracks. I always focus my problem-solving skills on solutions, not problems. I'm not propagating an obstacle. I'm creating a solution. My mind is already geared for solutions. This way, it doesn't matter what I run into as I'm going throughout my day. I don't care. I'll figure it out. It just doesn't matter to me. Because an obstacle is only an obstacle if you see it that way. Or you can look at everything as an opportunity to win. Because the world will give you a long list of reasons why you can fail. But if your mind is already geared for solutions, then when things go wrong, and as we all know, in life, things go wrong from time to time, you have solutions to apply to it right away, right? Solution 1 doesn't work, I don't care. I got solution 2 right in the back pocket. Solution 2 doesn't work, all right, we'll pull out solution 3. Throw that at it, see if it sticks, right? Solution 3 didn't work either, that's all right, I got solution 4. Can I pull that up there? Solution 4, we'll put C4 on it, blow it up, right? Boom. I'm always trying to get to solution 4 as quickly as possible. If you guys got a problem, you see me later. I'm just kidding. Seriously. When you focus your mind on solutions, it changes the way you see the world. Have you guys ever worked with somebody as all they can see is the problem?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How fun is that? Right? But really though, when you have a lot of solutions, it also keeps you further from getting to that point where you want to quit. Because nobody wants to be a quitter. And it's really hard to quit on something that you have your heart in, you know? We hear never quitting a lot. It's almost generic, right? Yeah, never quit. Until I'm tired or I didn't have my coffee or something, right? I quit. And I want to share with you what never quitting means to me. See, I firmly believe that we all, including myself, every one of us in here, we have these wars going on inside of us every day. That internal war between the decisions that we know we need to make to become the person that we know that we are deep down inside of ourselves. That person that scares us to think about ourselves that way, you know, out of the fear that it's unattainable. Because life has beat us up, or beat us down. Or maybe there's people in our life that are negative and they've accepted their beating. And they want you to accept yours as well. It's just the way life is, right? Well, it's Just wait the cookie crumbles. Just the cards I was dealt. What a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, it is attainable. If you never give up on yourself. There's going to be fights and struggles along the way. But when they come, what are you made of? Are you flimsy? Do you waver at the first sign of struggle? Reason, passion, right out the window. I don't know where they are today. I couldn't find them. What if you get knocked down? What if you fail? Do you quit? On yourself? On your team? On your family? Or do you fight? Because you got to stay in the fight. Even when it's so hard, all you can focus on is one more day. Who's felt like that? I just can't wait to get through this day, right? So I wash my hands of it and be done. And I got a fresh start tomorrow. Yay.
Yeah.
Everybody in here, including myself. Sometimes it's one more hour. I'm going to do the best I can for one more hour. I got one more hour in me. I got one more hour in me. I did this event in November where we rode 250 miles on our bikes in 36 hours. It sucked. I'm not a good bike rider, and it's tough. You know, I got this high-speed bike. I ride it once a year because I can't stand looking at it after this event, you know what I mean? But for me, it's one of those one more hour events. I'm going to cycle one more hour because we're doing it to raise awareness for veteran suicide. And that reason is a lot more bigger than how bad I suck at bike riding. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's 5 more minutes. I 5-minuted, new word, 5-minuted my way through Hell Week for 5.5 days. I know I have 5 more minutes in me. I know I have 5 more minutes in me. I know I have 5 more minutes in me. Because the alternative was quitting, and that really wasn't an alternative. It's like that with anything in your life, though. But what I really believe the essence of never quitting is the moment. Again, we always come back to the moment. I am alive right now in this moment. And I will fight with everything that I am in this moment. I will never quit in this moment. And I'll carry this moment through every minute of every hour of every day until I become the person that I know that I am deep down inside of myself. The one that scares the crap out of me. Because that person will change the world. And it's every one of us in this room. And every day we are a decision away. We are one decision away from becoming who we were born to be. But you gotta claim it. And you gotta own it. And you have to live your life. This is what never quitting means to me. Let me ask you, do you think victory is possible without sacrifice, without facing your fear?
No.
I know for me, the hardest things in my life always reaped the biggest rewards, every time. Let me ask you, if you quit on the little things in life, what do you think is going to happen when that big opportunity presents itself and you haven't put in the time and prepared for it? You think you're going to rise to the occasion? There were many times in my life when I could have quit and let the world just eat me up. When my grandfather died, I got knocked down and I stayed down for 6.5 years before I got back up. But I got back up. And I dusted myself off and I got back in the fight. When I got to the SEAL teams, I learned that when you never quit, you have an opportunity to change the world. Here's the truth. You don't have to be at the SEAL team to change the world. Every one of us has an opportunity every day to change ourselves and then influence the world around us. How much are you taking advantage of that opportunity? Understand that you may not see the results of your efforts right away. You may not even see them in a week, maybe not even in a year. But I promise you, if you never give up, you will see your dreams realized. How many times are you willing to fail until you succeed? 1,000? 10,000 times? Are you willing to fail until you do succeed? Because once you make that click, you're unstoppable. Because then there's nothing that's going to get in your way that is going to stop you. It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, you're going to get back up. Today I apply this no-fail mentality to everything in my life. Even the littlest things. Because it is the little things that I do on a consistent basis that create the momentum in my life to change it in a major way. I want to encourage you guys. Find your reason. And set that reason on fire with passion. Have the courage to take action, even though it means you may fail. And remember, always remember, never quit in the moment, because the moment is the opportunity to make all of your dreams come true. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Shannon Rusch. I'm a patriot, warrior, servant, protector, just like you guys.
Thank you.
And that is a warrior.